Hi there, it's David Young, the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk a little bit about today is your putting and making sure you've got good fundamentals that are going to make it easy for you to hold more putts, or definitely guarantee you'll get rid of those 3 putts. So that's a part of your game. You think I'm 3-putting a lot, please watch this video. It's going to be quite a comprehensive look at it, but we're going to cover around about 5 different things that I think, if you get right, will make a massive difference to your game. Now, where are we going to start? And this is always the interesting thing. Somebody comes to me for a putting lesson. The first thing I ask is, can you read a green? And generally the answer to that is, yes, I can. I'm really good at that. And then when you actually go out onto a putting green, they're not that good at it. So this is where you start. And the reason why you started reading a green, it's going to get you the understanding of the line you need to hit the ball on and the pace you need to hit it. Because as soon as you understand whether your ball is an uphill putt, downhill putt, that will help with the speed. And whether it's a right to left putt or a left to right putt, it will help with your aim. So already there, we've hit a little bit on 3 of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about green reading to start with. Then we're going to talk about aiming correctly relative to that line you've chosen. And then the speed relative to where you are to the ball. And that's massive for me. So if you want to really improve your putting, go to the putting green. Spend some time reading the green. Now, I'm going to give you my simplest way to read a green. And I just do one thing, okay? Regardless of where my ball is on the green, I will always go up to the hole and I will look at the hole, and if I imagine the sort of filling the hole up with water and it started overflowing, where would that water run? And what that's telling me, and I think of it like a clock face, that's telling me the low points. That's telling me what I call the 6 o'clock position. Okay, so if the water's running, let's say down here, going this way, this would be 6 o'clock. This would be a dead straight putt up the hill. Okay, and all I would do when I go to the putting green, okay, is go to that green and I'll give myself a 3-foot putt, about the length of your putt. And if I believe that's the line of where I believe the water's going to go, I'll just have a putt from that 3 foot and I'll aim dead straight up the hill, and if it runs dead straight up the hill, good, then I've read it correctly. Now what's interesting, the ball moved that way, so it tells me I haven't read it correctly. So if the ball's going that way, then the low point must be more this way. So let's bring it to here, same thing, 3 feet. And I'm not somebody who thinks, oh, I should get it perfect every time, because nobody does. All right, so now that's given me the understanding that that point there, let's just put a ball there, that's the 6 o'clock position. And that's the only thing I'm looking for when I walk onto the green. Find the 6 o'clock position. Now I know everything around it, if the green is consistent, what it's going to do. So that's your number 1 goal. Now, how are we going to use that information? Well, if that's my straight uphill putt, then if I was back here, and the green is consistent, and we know the greenkeepers, they try cagey with you, they try and put the flags in funny positions. But if the green is pretty consistent, then this putt here, if we get it directly in line, should be a straight downhill putt. Okay, and again, that's down to me having the ability to start it on the line. Yep, didn't move. So now we know that's 12 o'clock. So straight away I'm getting information. Now, here's 2 bits of information from that. If I'm putting from 6 o'clock, I've got to hit it harder. So this is a pace idea. I've got to hit it a little bit harder up the hill because I'm going up the hill. If I've got the 12 o'clock position, I'm going down the hill, I can hit it softer. Now, again, if you can think of a clock face and understand how that works, straight away your brain will go, oh, 6 o'clock's got to be uphill. 12 o'clock's got to be downhill. So a 1 and 11 o'clock, they must be downhill. 10 and, let's get my brain, 2 o'clock must be downhill as well. And I go the other side of 9 and 3, we'll come to them in a minute, 8 and 4, 7 and 5 must be uphill. So the 9 o'clock and the 3 o'clock are what I call your flat putts. They're not really uphill, they're not downhill, because what you're going to do, because the ball's going to swing, you're going to aim a little bit up the hill, but then it's going to go down the hill. They sort of even themselves out a little bit as you go through. So if you ever end up relative to where we are, so let's say your ball ends up here, okay, every ball this side has to go to the water. That has to be a left to right putt. Every ball this side, again, has to go to that ball, has to be a right to left putt. So straight away, you're getting some understanding of what it's going to do. Now, I'm going to do another video probably in a couple of weeks, which will be about simply how you can read a putt in 10 seconds. And that will be literally the time you walk onto the green go up to the hole, walk back to your ball. I can get you to read a putt 10 seconds, but most of that's in the time you're walking onto the green and walking back to your ball, okay, which will probably take you 5 or 6. So it's about 4 seconds of thought to understand how to read a putt and get the result you want. And as we said at the start of the video, you read the putts better. If you are somebody who 3 and 4 putts regularly, you will stop 3 putting. That's the goal of this video. If you get the fundamentals right, if you are a 3 putter, they'll go. That's the biggest difference people say to me when I give them a putting lesson. They go, I'm just not 3 putting now. Still like to hold a few more putts, but I'm not 3 putting. So straight away, they're getting closer to that 36 number. And then when they get that ball close enough, they're holding a few putts. So that's the simple thing I want you to do. Find the low point, the idea where the water runs. Relative to that, that's the 6 o'clock. That must be an uphill putt. So anything below the 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock side must be uphill. Anything the 12 o'clock side must be downhill. Okay. Anything coming from the 9 o'clock side over there must now move left to right, and anything the 3 o'clock side must be a right to left. So that's your basic green reading that I want you to do. Go and spend some time on it. Okay. That's really important. So now let's start to use that information to help us to work on how we're going to start to get those putts in the hole, or worst case scenario, closer to the hole, to guarantee we're never going to 3 putt. So what we're going to talk a little bit about now, the next 2 things are a little bit more about your technique. Okay, we're going to come back to the line and the speed a little bit later as we start to put all of this together. But for me now, the next thing is really important. And this is the same for any golf shot. Just think about when you hit a 7-iron, it comes right out of the middle of the club. It feels amazing, okay? And it goes the distance you want it to go. And the same thing's important when you're putting. So what I want you to think about is what we call center contact. We need to get that ball coming out of the center of your putter. And most of your putters you go and buy now will have some form of line on the top of the club here that will tell you where the sweet spot of the club is. Make sure that's lined up. Now what we've created here is a very simple little drill. We've just put a picture now on the screen for you, which is showing the putter relative to that ball. And we just put 2 T-pegs in, and we've roughly left a gap between the toe and the heel, about 3 or 4 millimeters either side of that. And the goal is simply this. I've gone back to my 3-foot straight putt. So I've used my green reading. I've now gone to this putt. And really now I'm looking for 2 things I'm starting to get the feel for here. Okay, number 1, I want to make a stroke and I want to go through that little alleyway of the 2 T-pegs. If I go through that alleyway and I don't hit them, I'm going to hit the ball out of the center of the putter. And the more you hit the ball out of the center of the putter, the more you're going to understand how hard to hit your putts, because the ball's going to come off the face consistently. So this is a massive fundamental. We don't talk about this. Okay, we don't talk about making sure you're hitting out the middle of the club, but we need to with a shot. So this is a very simple little drill. Set the T-pegs up, straight putt, and the goal is to get through that little archway, get it rolling up the green. And it's a good drill because if you start holing a few putts, take your time when you do this to get the ball in the center, it gives you the confidence now to do the next thing, which is the stroke that you're developing. Now, that's quite an important word, stroke. And I always say to people, look, I see people putt and it all looks a bit awkward and rushed and a bit jabby. And it's called a putting stroke. So I say to them, look, would you thrash down the back of a dog's back? No, you'd stroke the dog. It would be a nice smooth action. And that's what you've got to feel in your putting as well. Feel the action is a nice smooth movement back and through. So we're combining 2 things here to get the feel of that stroke, the smoothness, quite an even tempo back and through. We're going to go through our little alleyway. We're aiming correctly. We know this is the straight putt. So again, it's just getting that feeling from there, smooth. Think of the stroke, back, through, nice and smooth. And what you'll start to get then is you now know how the ball is going to come off the putter face. So you now have generated 1, an understanding how to read a green, because you've now set the drill up to do it. 2, with the gateway, you're hitting it out the center of the putter. So that's going to make it easier to control your speed in a minute. And 3, you're now creating a stroke. Think of stroking that animal. Don't think about thrashing it. You wouldn't. Okay? You would look after that pet, your cat or your dog. So think of that movement as a nice smooth action back and through. I always think the best putters, it's a nice consistent action. And you'll get that feeling where it maybe feels like your arms, shoulders, just nicely rocking back and forth. Think of a rocking chair, it just goes back and forth. It's a bit like a pendulum. So think of that sort of tempo back and through if you do that, I'll guarantee you'll go through that gateway a lot better. So now, as I said, we've got three things. We've red or green. Okay, we understand what we're looking for there to help us. We now have got a good stroke because we're hitting it out the centre of the putter, and we've got a good tempo. So now let's create a putt and see if we can put those ideas together and then make sure we start to get that consistency, and also go through a little bit of data here to understand what's a good result. I think that's really important. So if you're putting from there, obviously you've got lots of help from 3 feet. If you're looking at a scratch golfer, he's still going to miss some of them. It's still probably, yeah, he's going to get 90+% in the hole, but he's still going to miss some. But if you look at it as an 18 handicap golfer, you're probably still going to miss from 3 feet, a quarter of those putts. So this goal is to get you into a position where you now think, well, that's not going to happen. I'm going to start holing more of these. And then it doesn't feel, people call it a bit of a knee knocker, feels like, yeah, I can do this. I can get some results and get what I want. But now let's create a putt. Let's start to put these ideas all together to see if we can start getting that putt closer to the hole. Make sure all these fundamentals are working. So our final bit, we're going to look at 2 completely different putts. The hole is the same, so that's an important thing. We're going to talk about a little sort of cheat you can do to help you with this. Is we've left the ball there, we've left the straight putt, we're going to putt a ball from back there. Okay, so the first thing I would do when I turn up to the green, I found that 6 o'clock. If I stood here now at the 6 o'clock and I think of a perfect clock face, and I think 12 o'clock is up there coming down, and I look across, and I think now I'm putting from 7 o'clock. So straight away, if you think of a clock face, I've now got to be putting up the hill because it's quite close to the 6. And because it's left of the 6, I need to aim left of the hole, because what's going to happen is the ball is going to turn right to go to the 6. So now I've got 2 bits of information, okay? So this is where people start the 3 putts. Because whereas they probably look at this and they don't see it's uphill and they don't see the slope, they just aim generally at the hole and end up 5 feet short. So what I know now is I'm close to the 6, so it's got to be nearly the most sort of uphill putt that I've got at 7 o'clock. And I know the low point's over there, so I've got to aim this side of the hole. So you can see how it's giving me information. Now, all I've got to do now, and you can do this lots of different ways, you can line up the ball. People like to do that to help you generally go in the direction you want to go. Not going to go fully into green reading today, but I'm going to aim about 2 hole widths left of the hole, okay, roughly on this putt. And the thing to understand, the closer you are on this line, the less break there'll be. The further you are away, the more break there'll be, because you're going along that line for longer or shorter. But now what I'm looking to do is create that stroke. So I have a practice putting stroke to feel the stroke I believe I'm going to make, okay, to get it to that hole. And again, it's a stroke. It's a nice even tempo. I'm aiming that couple of holes to the left. Get the ball running up the hill. You can see it turning. Look where it's going. It's going, look, it's ended up bang on the line for the 6 o'clock. So you can see how we've read the putt. But what have I got it? Within 10 inches of the hole. Tap it in, I've got my 2 putt from 20 feet. And if you can 2 putt from 20 feet, you are doing absolutely fine. That's around about where a 10 handicap golfer would be. Okay, even a single figure golfer isn't holing loads of putts from that distance. So we're getting that ball close to the hole. All right, we're going to turn the camera off. We're going to change the putt completely so we can sort of learn from it and understand then, again, the 6 o'clock is always giving us the idea of where we've got to go. So here's our second putt. Again, not move the ball. Low point is there. We're now above here. So again, 6 o'clock is there. As soon as I go above the 3 o'clock, so I'm now coming from around about what I'd call 1 o'clock. This has to be a downhill putt because I'm on the top side of the clock face, and it's got to be a right to left breaking putt. Okay, so that's really important. It's so important, especially for the speed. Okay, people always say, oh, it's all about speed. Well, it is. But you get the line right, get the speed right, you've got to combine the 2 together. But straight away, as soon as I think 1 o'clock, I think, that's going to be quick down the hill. That's going to be a little bit quick. I don't want to hit this like I did the one coming up the hill from 7 o'clock. So, going to aim out, good, probably 3 hole widths out here, because even though it's a slightly shorter putt, I feel there's a lot more break on this part of the green. And again, set up to that point, get a centre contact, decent stroke, out there, should start to turn. There we go. So that ball was nicely making its way towards the 6 o'clock. Speed was good. If it hadn't gone in, probably would have rolled about 15 inches past. Really good. But we gave it a chance. But again, it was that information that I got from the initial green reading that made it the opportunity to do it. So let's talk a little bit about the recap of that lesson. So number one, go and read your greens. Find that low point. Okay, there are lots of systems out there. The most common one we now see on TV is aim point. And that's all about gravity. It's all about where the low point is. The players are feeling in their feet exactly where it is. Oh my God, here comes the rain. We're going to continue with this. So the second thing we talked about was technique. Use those two T-pegs to get a center contact off the face. The next thing we're looking for then from there is to make sure as we come through, okay, is in that point, is you getting a good stroke. Then from there, change the putt around. Leave the 6 o'clock position there. That little shower's done. Okay. So leave the 6 o'clock on the green when you're practicing. Throw some balls around the green. Start to understand where you are on that green relative to that point. Are you now an uphill putt? Are you a downhill putt? Are you left to right, right to left? And experiment. Just hit some putts. Even roll some balls along the green to start with. Just get the feel of the idea. You get those 5 things right. Green reading, center contact, good stroke. Understand then the aim and the speed. You won't 3-putt. Your 3 putts will disappear. Okay, that's the key thing. I hope you've enjoyed that video. A little bit of rain there to finish with. Hopefully we'll get in. I mean, it's blue skies behind it. So had that little bit of rain. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, please subscribe to the channel. Press the little bell for notifications. Make sure on your phone you haven't shut them down. Again, a lot of people are coming back to me and saying, look, I'm not getting the notifications. You may have that sort of not on your phone. Make sure it is. Make sure it's working. Every Tuesday, Friday, you'll get a new video. I look forward to seeing you soon.